Hello, and welcome back to the definitive Starship review series without access to a proper table, where today we are reviewing the Discoprise, Strange New Worlds Enterprise. I wonder if the fandom will come up with a name for it in the coming weeks. Nobody could have seen this coming on the schedule this week, because today we are going to answer the important question: is this whole thing really the bridge of the Enterprise? Like, I've been staring at this for a while, trying to set it up, and I mean, like, that's the dome. You got the lift, the turbo lift, the dome. Like, is that the view screen? Because this ship, canonically, is like twice the size of, well, this ship in TOS. Like, that view screen is obscene, and I'm not sure how it scales to everything else. Like, look at that. Oh, well, you can't see that. Look at that. That's so much space. Like, and look at the windows on there. Like, why are there windows on the edge of the bridge? But anyway, enough critiquing that. I had to get that off my chest because I've been staring at it for so long. We are viewing, of course, the XL Discoprise, which is probably the name I'm going to settle on for the review, and the issue something of the Discovery Collection. I can't actually remember what issue. 12. I'm pretty sure issue 12. But before we go any further with the review, I have to say that I am part of the Eaglemoss affiliate program, which means if you choose to purchase either of these models because of this video, there's a link in the description. That is an affiliate link, meaning I will get a 7% commission on the sale of the model. I'm allowed to say whatever the heck I want about these ships and still purchase them with my own money, but just be aware that there is a legal incentive, not illegal, a monetary incentive, for me to tell you to go buy these ships. I'm not gonna get arrested if I don't. You think I'd be able to do that speech by now, but apparently not. So yes, the Discoprise, the latest Enterprise checking, yep. And this is, of course, I don't know if they've made any changes to the model since Strange New Worlds. If they have, they won't be on here, because this is, of course, from Season 2 of Discovery, when they did these, well before Strange New Worlds. But just keep that in mind. I haven't even seen Strange New Worlds as the time I'm recording this. I'm not 100% sure when this is going out, but I'm pretty sure Strange New Worlds has come out. Before we get too far, though, we've got to do my classic size comparisons. And these are both very good size models coming from the Discovery and then an XL of the Discovery collection. You can see, here we go, the Discovery version just compared to an Eaglemoss stand, its own in fact, but it is also very close in size to the Vulcan Cruiser. It's actually a tad longer, but I'm limited in my selections this time for the size comparisons. Meanwhile, as an XL, the Discoprise is a unit of measurement in its own right. Identical in size, I don't have them present, but to the TOS XL, the TMP XL, basically any XL version of this ship, it's the same size as. But as an alright size comparison, here it is next to the Dideridax, a pretty good sized XL, and as you can see, it'll eclipse it. Exactly unlike the classic scene from The Next Generation. And I almost forgot, but the Discoprise, you can see compared to the Eaglemoss, standard Eaglemoss stand, and it's, yeah, a very big ship. Well, enough comparing sizes, so we take a look at the actual ship. What is it, 20% different? Was that the slogan? Yes, a very interesting refit of the Enterprise, and yes, we're going to call it a refit, because if it is a redesign, I'm remembering that I'm legally required as part of that affiliate contract not to say certain things, one of which was threats of violence, or encouragements thereof. But yes, see, if you had to do a redesign, it is quite an interesting one, with a very TMP silhouette, especially in the struts. And Columbia-class refit, the NX style nacelles, with the blue grating on the inside, but, well, as you can see, not on the outside. Of course, a very shrunken nacelle style for the original series ship, but, brilliant gold deflector dish. Beyond that, the saucer sections, about what you'd expect. The body, I believe, is elongated a bit. Again, I don't have the comparisons there. But a lot of the recognizable features that, as I believe was asked, about 10% different. Notably, though, you do have the cage-style deflector grills that are also in Strange New Worlds with the blue glow. Not deflector grills, the back of the nacelles, which are like bumps in the original series, but in the cage, well, hang on a second. In the cage, looks something like this. Hey, would you look at that? I actually do have a version of the original at hand. Anyway, let's get a closer look. The whole ship, it exemplified very well in the saucer section, has got the weathered Aztec look that I think it's a bit different from Discovery's standard. It's probably what'll be referred to as the Strange New World design pretty soon. It's got an interesting little indent in here, almost like there should be a view screen, but there isn't. There's not room. I think that's where the lights go, actually, in the modern series. I think this to light up the registry, which of course present U.S.S. Enterprise NCC 1701, no bloody A, B, C, or D, as if it wasn't confusing enough to reference this ship. Of course, the registries, just like the original, where yes, you can see one of them is the wrong way around, quote unquote, but with your green and red lights on either side. And actually, yes, the same side, it appears, as the original. I'll make it explicit. This is the cage version of the original Enterprise, so you might know some weird things like the pointing nacelles, but it's broadly speaking the same, especially as an Eaglemoss model. Beyond that, going back to the top, you've got a pretty uniform disc style, again similar to, well, the TOS Enterprise, where it goes down. Rather than the TOS, where it kind of dips down here under this rim, the Strange New World one doesn't. It is very flat and goes off. And the same with the bottom. It is flat and then just kind of becomes a cone, almost. Not quite a perfect cone, but broadly speaking. Actually, it's a circus tent shape, if you do it that way. Or just Dalek UFO with a big thing jutting out the back. The underside of the saucer has got, of course, these lines grooved into them, just like the top, yes. Except I think they're a bit more frequent. No, I know what it is. It's these little rims, I think. Yeah, these little rims make it look like there's more of them for some reason. The indented rings that go around. You've got, usually this is some sort of observation post. I think on the NX, that's what it is as well. Torpedo tubes, visual weaponry, which is nice. The original series never had that. They just kind of happened. The weird, some people say landing pods, no, landing legs for saucer separation. That's never really canon, but the weird bits, the weird triangles, they're there, whatever you want to call them. And then some other generic kind of windowing or weaponry along the rim of the saucer. But pretty simplistic. It is nice with the redesign that they have kind of kept a lot of the design choice that made part of what made it so iconic was just the completely greeblious, smooth, beautiful surface of the original. Of course, now you've got the weathering, the paneling, all sorts. Like, was it Matt Jeffries would probably hate this, but this is he still alive? You might actually be able to ask him. I don't know. Yeah, it was nice that they kept a good amount of that for how greebly intensive the modern series is. This socks section, probably my favorite because it's the least different, coincidentally. Has got these ridges all the way across, you can see. Windowing, the same sort of decal. In fact, is it the same? No, not quite the same, but very similar. This is Lieutenant Spaceship, not Commander Spaceship, but it's generally pretty nicely sculpted. You can see the bottom has also got a lot of the detailing, random bits etched in. Pretty similar to the patterns on the, I almost called it the actual Enterprise, the original Enterprise, but without those colors. The neck, going in between what we've covered, Eaglemoss has learned how to do necks, apparently. There's a bit of paint, bit that's not really painted because of the weird geometry, but at least the windows are all where they're supposed to be. And going back to the rim of the saucer, it's decorated occasionally with windows and other sort of bumps and greeblies, just like the original has some windows and stuff, and then some weird circular ones on the front, with the rear impulse grille being very nicely modeled here. The nacelle struts are that TMP style, but with the hole in them, which, they're probably the most different part about this Enterprise, that change the whole geometry. They lower things down, different with the holes, and probably the least favorite part, but they're well done for, well capture the model well. And you can see there's actually quite a nice bit of detailing on the spine with the coloring and windows. Clamshell on the docking port, yep, you got a clamshell. You've got your red and green car just going in for some reason. In fact, I think that might be the red and green light. Yeah, because it does match on the saucer, red light, green light, which are subtle, but they are there. Deflector dish is that bronzy coppery. It's not the usual paint they use. I don't know if it's on any other model, but other than the silver tip, it's a gunmetal effect, but on a different color that makes it look really nice and shines when the lights hits it. Which is probably my favorite part about this model is how they do the deflector dish. And finally, the nacelles are, these Strange New Worlds nacelles. Here we go for your reference. Of course, the lovely TOS decals, the Columbia Refit style inner deflector grids. Your little tubes up here, I guess we'll call them, don't actually have like that gap in the middle. I'm not sure if the Strange New Worlds Enterprise does. The TOS one definitely is supposed to. That's what these are. I suppose they might actually be fins, and there are 3 of them, which I've just seen. Not true in the originals. But that piping on the inside is done a lot nicer. They've kind of painted the gap, it looks like, where it's darker on the inside for these fins. I get why there isn't a hole on these, and as well for, I think none of these Enterprises have had it, because it makes the part quite delicate and hard to manage. But just be aware, it does look weird if you pay attention to it. And you've got a lot of these indented, properly graded bits all along the nacelles, finally capping up with that lovely weird orange glow they add. It's not quite as space magic, I guess, as the original, but it is a very beautiful effect, and probably captured the best they could. And then let's briefly pivot over to, I think, the size comparison I forgot of the Discovery one compared to the XL. There we go, now it's all on frame, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can see it's a huge step up from what Discovery did size-wise. Like, you'll definitely notice the difference for what I don't think is too much more expensive, the XLs compared to Discovery. Eaglemoss has recently changed all their prices, but I think they scaled them up linearly, like just added a flat amount to everything. But the point is, yeah, it's definitely a big size increase for however much they're charging for the difference. And our review over the Discovery version will be a lot quicker. I looked over this before the video a lot, it's the big one, but smaller. The main difference you can see the best on the saucer is the Aztecing. It's more Aztecing here and less weathering, but it's very much more subtle. A bit more obvious on the nacelles, and I guess the body you can see it better, but overall, it is very subtle. But as I do a quick once over, the lines are all there still, all the grooves, maybe a bit better detailed just because of the size. You can kind of capture it better on the larger one. But other than that, it really is everything you've just seen, except smaller. I've just seen my saucers peeling off a little bit here. You could probably fix that if I really wanted to. Maybe take it apart, glue it back together. But I'm sure that's just this model. I want to exemplify, though, the same kind of style for the nacelles, the Bessard collectors, that's the term, and the deflector dish. The deflector dish is exactly the same style paint, which looks wonderful. The Bessard collectors are slightly different. I don't know if it's the size, that volume as well they have to work with. In fact, looking at it, the 2 Bessard collectors, this one looks a bit darker, which is kind of weird. Or if it's a slightly different material, I'm not sure. But you can see, I guess it's a preference which one you prefer, what Strange New Worlds does. What you prefer for your model, really. In the end, as like a TOS Enterprise, we'll call it, it's an interesting blend of the original Enterprise and, God, I mean, with you sitting there, it is so hard to reference the original Enterprise that isn't this, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Between the original Kirk's Enterprise, this, and the motion picture, this is a brilliant blend of the two, which is weird because this comes before the TOS Enterprise. But on the shelf, I mean, you can see it in my channel banner. It does look quite good next to all of them on my Enterprise lineage wall. And I did become generally a lot more favorable of the ship after I received the model, which does tend to happen. If I had to give a recommendation, as I usually say, I'd say go for the bigger one, just because it's a big enough ship that extra size, you're definitely justifying the detail. I think the weathering being slightly more visible is a better look. Compared to this, I don't know, you can kind of see it. It is preference, but I just prefer the more obvious weathering and Aztecing. But you definitely would not be dissatisfied with a Discovery edition. And yeah, I think that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and sharing it. If you have any question about either of these models, just ask me in the not the description, in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer it. If you want me to review a specific model, just ask. I'm more likely to have it than not, and I have the entire Discovery collection, so if I'll do it if you ask. I'll even buy the thing if I don't own it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time! Do you think they'll notice my sweatshirt changed twice this video? I don't know. We'll see.